So if you could, just try to imagine stepping, not with your eyes, but with your nose, into 18th century Paris.
Almost impossible for us, isn't it?
It really is. To conceive of a world where every single thing is just dominated by this raw physical odor. The air itself wasn't neutral. It was a thick, invisible broth.
Right. The streets smelled of manure and urine, staircases of rat droppings, and the source material makes a point of saying that even the king stank like a beast of prey.
Which is just an incredible detail.
It is, because it establishes that bacteria and decay, putrefaction, they absolutely ruled. Odor wasn't just unpleasant. It was the defining quality of life. It was everything.
And right there, in the literal epicenter of all this olfactory horror, the fish market next to the overflowing Cimetière des Innocents, a boy is born.
Born into the worst stink imaginable.
And yet he has this profound, unsettling anomaly. He has no personal scent whatsoever. He's an olfactory void in a world that is just saturated with smell.
And the reaction to that is immediate psychological terror. It's not just dislike.
No, not at all.
When the wet nurse is handed this baby, she's convinced he's a demon. She tells the monastery he is possessed by the devil because he does not smell as human children ought to smell.
That sensory absence is immediately seen as a lack of a soul.
Exactly. To be human is to have an odor. That confirms your existence to others. This void doesn't make him invisible. It makes him, monstrously alien.
And that's the foundation of his whole life, isn't it? When Pater Terrier tries to inspect him, the baby's nose seems to see him. It sniffs him shamelessly, penetrating right through to his deepest, most shameful thoughts.
That confirms his role as a predator. Because he lacks this self-odor, he's completely outside the human exchange. He is defined not by presence, but by this unnerving non-presence.
And this isolation, it structures his entire development. Scent becomes his only language for organizing the world.
Which leads to that crucial distinction in how he thinks. The book is very clear that he struggles profoundly with abstract concepts.
Things like, conscience, God, joy.
All of them. They remain hazy, kind of formless in his mind because they don't have a discernible fragrance.
So if he can't smell it,
it doesn't really exist. Not in a meaningful way. He learns and retains and masters the names for anything that has a concrete aroma. Fish, geranium, cabbage. Morality has no scent, so how can he possibly develop a moral framework?
It gives him this terrifying clarity, but also just deepens his isolation. The author uses that fascinating analogy comparing his early psychological state to a tick.
The tick analogy is perfect. He's this small, ugly creature making himself insignificant to avoid notice, just waiting, blind and deaf, but perpetually. Perpetually scenting the passing world. He waits for years in this focused isolation, only moving when the perfect host, or in his case, the perfect scent, comes within range.
And this perception, it's described as being superior, isn't it? When he experiences the markets, he's not dealing with the noise or the glare or the disgusting closeness of real people.
No, he perceives the market as an essence, a spirit of something past. He bypasses all the superficial chaos that distracts normal people and gets right to the core of a thing.
It's like a pure, unadulterated form of understanding. He could smell a caterpillar hidden deep inside a cauliflower.
Or know exactly where money was hidden behind a chimney. Scent is his sight, his radar. It's his tool for navigating a world he basically despises.
This ability just reinforces his sense of intellectual superiority. He sees humanity as this noisy, smelly distraction. But if his internal world is so rich, why does he need anything from the outside? What forces him off that tick's tree branch?
Well, he's a collector up to this point. He has his inner repository of scents, but he hasn't found the organizing principle yet. That changes one evening in Paris.
The fireworks display.
Exactly. He catches a single scent, just an atom of fragrance, so delicate and so new that he risks everything to trace it through the crowds.
And that description of his first encounter with the young red-haired girl in the Rue des Marais, it's just unforgettable. It's not just a pleasant smell. It's described with this almost spiritual intensity.
Almost impossibly beautiful terms. Fresh as sea wind, sweet as nut oil, like a bouquet of water lilies and apricot blossoms. This one fragrance just instantly renders everything he'd ever created or stored completely meaningless.
Yeah.
It's an aesthetic shock.
And that's the critical distinction, right? The source material is so careful to make sure we understand this as an aesthetic obsession, not a physical or romantic desire.
It's very careful. His reaction is one of overwhelming aesthetic and existential need. He realizes that this perfect fragrance is pure beauty, the higher principle for which his life must now be dedicated. He doesn't want the girl.
He wants the blueprint.
He wants the structural blueprint of her essence. And the murder that follows is chillingly clinical. The text notes that the killing was completely indifferent to him.
He was only concerned with soaking up every last bit of the scent before it faded. He'd acquired the principle of her being, and nothing else mattered.
And this discovery, it organizes his mind instantly. He commits this apotheotic perfume to the cuddle-muddle of his black soul, and that's the moment he starts building his lifelong project. This inner fortress of glorious fragrance compositions.
So now that he has the blueprint, he needs the technique. That brings him to Baldini, the great but fading perfumer.
Right. And this period isn't about discovery. It's about technical mastery. He needs to learn the tools.
The mechanics of extraction. He has to master those gentle processes to capture the most fragile scents, like jasmine that can't withstand heat.
Which is where he learns cold enfleurage, using fat-soaked cloths to meticulously and patiently absorb an aroma.
I find that detail so fascinating philosophically. He doesn't use brute force, like distillation. He uses this meticulous, gentle manipulation. It's described as flattering the soul out of them.
It suggests that to capture true fragile beauty, you have to steal it gently. And that technique is absolutely crucial because it foreshadows his ultimate crimes.
So once he has the tools, he has no need for humanity or its stink anymore.
Not at all, which leads to his 7-year exile in the mountain cave. He's escaping the odor of humanity, seeking a pure, scentless world that he realizes perfectly mirrors the empty core of his own soul.
It's the ultimate sensory deprivation experiment. He just wants to bask in his inner fortress of collected smells, far from any contamination.
But that isolation proves fatal to his constructed peace.
Yes, the internal catastrophe. He has this terrifying dream where he's smothered by a rising cloud of his own smell, which is revealed to be
Nothing.
absolutely nothing, just empty air.
It's the void confronting him. He wakes up in a profound panic and is forced to confirm his deepest fear. He has no self. He strips off the clothes he's worn for 7 years, assuming they must be saturated with his essence.
But he smells only stone, sand, moss, some old sausage grease.
And decidedly not his own unique human odor.
The panic now isn't about physical comfort. It's this anxiety of not knowing about himself. He realizes his whole life has been about collecting external ingredients to build a soul he was born without.
So if I did, absolutely. And the satisfaction he gets isn't joy, but a violent feeling of pride and a cold and sober satisfaction. He understood that he could deceive anyone.
So if a crude mask was this powerful, what would happen if he created something divine?
That leads directly to the ultimate obsessive project in Grass, synthesizing the single greatest perfume ever created.
A perfume that would require the essence of 25 beautiful young virgins with the second red-haired girl, Laura Riches, as the perfect tapstone.
The ultimate scent he believes must possess a force that no human being would be able to resist. It's an act of aesthetic totalitarianism. He needs to construct a scent that compels universal, irresistible love.
And his acquisition of Laura Riches is the final, meticulous step. He uses that cold enfleurage technique he mastered, wrapping her body entirely in fat-soaked cloths for 6 hours.
This is the moment where technique and psychology just perfectly converge.
The text describes his internal state during this horrific waiting period as a satisfied feeling of acting waiting. It says these were the only moments in his life he felt so calm, so balanced, so one and unified with himself.
He's no longer the isolated tick. He isn't just a collector. He's the highest form of artisan, conducting the final ritual to complete his soul's external manifestation. He has replaced the self with a perfect physical creation.
And that creation is put to the test at his execution in Glass in front of 10,000 people. He arrives dressed finely and applies just a single drop.
The effect is instantaneous and absolute. The entire crowd is overwhelmed by this irresistible, almost divine force. It transforms them.
It becomes tenderness, infatuation, and then raw, unrestrained lust. It's an olfactory miracle that compels love. The source says this is a power stronger than the power of money or the power of terror or the power of death.
And the whole spectacle of justice just devolves into this desperate, chaotic mass orgy. The ultimate proof of his power is Laura's father, Riches. He came to see Grenouille die.
Instead, he rushes forward, embraces him, tearfully begs for forgiveness, and offers to adopt him as his son.
He achieved what he always desired, to be loved, adored, recognized as a god. But here is the massive, fatal irony.
The ultimate triumph is immediately awful for him.
He's compelled their love, but he hates the people who are loving him. The success tastes like ashes.
But why? If his goal was absolute control and aesthetic perfection, why did he need their love at all? Isn't the craft the victory?
Because he needed it as a reflection. He realized the power is senseless for him because he cannot smell it on himself. He can see the effect, but he cannot experience the identity he created.
He's still just a man recognized only by a stolen aura.
Exactly. His true self, the hatred, the emptiness, remains unseen. He realizes that even godlike power cannot fill that void or compel people to love his authentic, empty self.
So the perfume is a mirror that can only reflect outwards. It solves the world's problem of perceiving him, but not his problem of being.
Right, so he undertakes his final, intentional act. He returns to where his story began. The Cimetière des Innocents, the filthiest spot in Paris.
He has the perfect weapon of love.
Yeah.
And he chooses to use it among the most wretched outcasts who live there.
He empties the entire bottle onto himself, becoming a figure of radiant, overpowering beauty. For one moment, he is irresistible love.
And the end is, well, it's horrific, but it's philosophically consistent. The surrounding criminals and outcasts are seized by this fanatical, desirous love he created, and they swarm him.
They tear him to pieces, and in their devotion, they consume him completely, leaving not a single trace behind.
And the story leaves us with this final, jarring paradox. After this gruesome cannibalistic act, the perpetrators feel this inner lightness, a maidenly, gentle radiance of happiness. They were extraordinarily proud.
They had done something out of love for the first time.
It forces you to ask, doesn't it, if genius without a true self must rely on theft and consumption, and the ultimate expression of love can result in cannibalism. What does that say about the true ingredients of identity?
And was their act of consumption, motivated by this absolute compelled adoration, actually the purest form of love the world had ever seen? It makes you reflect on the invisible forces that govern your own sense of self. What essence, stolen or created, do you rely on to feel complete?